The year is 1787. A small, sickly young man stands up in the British House of Commons, and what he's about to propose will make him one of the most hated men in England. William Wilberforce was barely 5 feet tall, often in such poor health that people doubt he would live through that year. He's going to stand up against, though, the most profitable industry in the entire empire, the slave trade. Powerful men would threaten him. They will mock his frail body. One captain will swear to throw him overboard if he ever sets foot on a ship. And Wilberforce will fight them anyway for the next 20 years. Welcome to Lift Up Your Day, a 5-minute devotional, short stories with a biblical heartbeat. I'm Rodney, and today, the 20-year fight of a frail man who refused to quit until the chains came off. William Wilberforce was a rising political star with a sharp mind and a love of the good life. Then in his mid-20s, he met Jesus Christ, and everything turned. He called it the Great Change. At first, he thought he should leave politics and go into the ministry, but an old friend talked him out of it. That friend was John Newton, the former slave ship captain who had written the wonderful song, Amazing Grace. Newton looked at young Wilberforce and told him that God had raised him up for the nation. Stay where you are, Newton said. God's work right there in Parliament is what you're meant to do. So Wilberforce stayed, and he picked the fight of his life. He brought his first bill to abolish the slave trade in 1791. It was crushed, so he brought it again, and again, and again. Year after year, the votes went against him. The money was against him. The newspapers tore him apart. His health failed so often that he should have quit a dozen times over. But every year, he stood back up and made the case again. He gathered the testimonies. He showed his countrymen the horror of the slave ships in detail they could not unsee. He refused to let England look away. It took him 16 years from that first bill, but in 1807, the House finally voted to abolish the British slave trade. And as a result, when the vote was read, the members of Parliament stood and cheered, but Wilberforce sat with his head in his hands, weeping. He was not done. He kept fighting to free the enslaved themselves, and in 1833, 3 days before he died, word reached his bedside that the law passed. Slavery in the British Empire was over. He had won the fight. He refused to lose. Maybe you're tired. You're in a long fight of your own. You've prayed the same prayer for years with no answer. You've worked at the same hard thing and seen no breakthrough. And part of you is ready to sit down and call it impossible. Wilberforce would tell you to stand back up. The Bible says it plainly in Galatians 6:9, let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not lose heart. In due season, not on our schedule, but on God's. The harvest may be years away, and it may still be coming. The fight that defines a life is rarely the quick one. It is the one you refuse to lose, a year after year until the chains finally fall. Do not sit down. Your due season may be closer than you think. And that, friend, is how God lifts up your day.